Hello BookTube and welcome to the continuation of my 2020 library tour. This is part 5 in science fiction and fantasy. Let's hope I can get these books without falling down because I have them currently. So what I've been doing is I've been taking the books down from the shelves and putting most of them on, or about half of them on my chair and then the rest on the bed. Unfortunately, the chair will sometimes, depending how it moves, some of the books will fall through the armrests. So hopefully we can avoid that. Anyway, so the first book up is The Winged Histories by Sophia Samatar. I read this earlier this year and I didn't quite get on with it. I might come back to it eventually, but I don't know for sure. And it originally comes from the Willoughby Eastlake Public Library. Next is The Best of Fritz Leiber by Fritz Leiber. This is a collection of his science fiction stories. I picked this up a few years ago from the Friends of the Library bookshelf. The Friends of the Library book sale. It doesn't have any of the Fawford and the Grey Mouser books or stories in it, but yeah. And another by Fritz Leiber, The Three of Swords by Fritz Leiber. This is a Fawford and the Grey Mouser, or collection of several of the Fawford and Grey Mouser books, including Swords and Deviltry, Swords Against Death, and Swords in the Mist by Fritz Leiber. This came from the Waco McLennan County Library, and I picked it up when they withdrew it to put it in the last Friends of the Library book sale. Quite happy to have it. And I do rather like the Fawford and Grey Mouser series, although I haven't really read as much of it as I would like to. I read them a few years ago, well, closer to a decade ago now, and quite liked them, and I wanted that particular omnibus edition, but never quite got around to getting it until it got withdrawn from the Waco McLennan County Library system. And next is The Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis in this omnibus edition. It's a movie tie-in, I think. Where is it? Oh. Well, I mean, obviously it's a movie tie-in edition, but it doesn't have any film stills in it. So there is something in here. Anyway, picked it up from Golden's Book Exchange, several years ago. Next is The Locust Awards, an anthology edited by Charles N. Brown and Jonathan Strahan. I really love this anthology. Yeah, it's got some really good stuff in it. I really want to have another read of this at some point. And next we have quite a few books by Robert Jordan. The Eye of the World, the first book in the Wheel of Time. The Great Hunt, book 2 in the Wheel of Time. The Fires of Heaven, book 5 in the Wheel of Time. And The Dragon Reborn, book 3 of the Wheel of Time. And not by Robert Jordan, nor part of the Wheel of Time, The Black Prism by Brent Weeks, the first book in the Lightbringer series. I picked this up, I want to say I picked this up from Golden's Book Exchange or Broads's Books. They're two used bookstores in Waco. I'm pretty sure I picked this up from one of them. Probably Golden's. And then I picked up the second book from Hastings, and then ordered the other 3 from, or the other one I have from Amazon. I think that's how that happened. Okay. Next up, we have some Conan, the original Conan. The Coming of Conan the Cimmerian by Robert E. Howard. This collection is the first part of a trilogy that Del Rey put out that collects all of the Conan stories by Robert E. Howard. This one's got Phoenix on the Sword, Frostgiant's Daughter, God in the Bowl, The Tower of the Elephant, The Scarlet Citadel, and several others. Really love this edition and collection. I have wanted the there's a big omnibus edition put out by Golan's, I think, around the same time these editions came out. That I kind of wanted to, but I managed to pick up all of these from Golden's at one point or another. I'm quite happy to have them back. I actually had all of these when they first came out, and then I got rid of them stupidly, as most of a good chunk of my book purging is. And I wanted them back, and very happy to finally have them all back, even though I've had them for several years. So this is the Conquering Sword of Conan. This one has the Servants of Bityakin, Beyond the Black River, The Black Stranger, the Man-Eaters of Zambula, and Red Nails, which is fantastic. It is a powerful short story, just powerful, or really more of a novelette. But anyway, so I think this is actually the 3rd volume, and The Bloody Crown of Conan is the 2nd volume. And this one includes The People of the Black Circle, The Hour of the Dragon, and A Witch Shall Be Born. I need to correct it real quick. There's some okay. There's some damage in the middle part of those pages. Okay, next. The Hard SF Renaissance, edited by David G. Hartwell and Catherine Kramer. This is almost certainly a university textbook, or used as a university textbook, because there's nowhere else I see like the amount of used sort of stickers on, except for like from a university bookstore. So anyway, so this is a collection of short fiction, much like the space opera Renaissance, that looks at hard science fiction, which is a subgenre of science fiction that deals with more harder science. It's less fantastical. It's more of what's possible and probable, rather than, like, say, space opera. And also the Sword and Sorcery Anthology, again edited by David G. Hartwell, and this time with Jacob Weissman. This is a Sword and Sorcery anthology that includes several practitioners of sword and sorcery, including Robert E. Howard, C.L. Moore, Fritz Leiber, Paul Anderson, Michael Moorcock, Joanna Russ, which I don't think that's good. Charles L. Saunders, Carl Edward Wagner, Ramsey Campbell, David Drake, Glenn Cook, Michael Shea, Jane Yolen, Rachel Pollack, Gene Wolfe, Caitlin R. Kernan, Jeffrey U. Ford, Georgia R. Martin, and Michael Swanwick. Even though you can argue the Georgia R. Martin story probably doesn't really belong, but anyway. Maces of Power by Juliet Wade. I recently gave this a go last week for weekly reads and didn't make much headway with it. I didn't particularly care for it. I thought it was boring and the main character insufferable. I mean, I might have another go at it at some point, but for now, it might be a while. Space Opera by Catherine and Valenti. This book has plagued me since I bought it. I've read it twice, or tried it twice, and never made much headway. The third time when I reread it at the end of November, I finally finished it. And I still don't like it. Honestly, I don't. I think it's a little too satirical for my taste, a little too uneven in the world building and in the overall writing. And I don't particularly care for the characters. And finally, for this part of the tour, Nancy Kress's Tomorrow's Kin. So, yeah, that was part 5 of the science fiction and fantasy section. I will be right back with part 6. So I will see you in a few. Thank you, BookTube, and until then, have a great afternoon and stay safe.